Welcome back to Kitchen Table Conversations. I'm Chessie,
And I'm Andre.
and today we're going to continue with our moving series,
Yeah.
talking about us moving from a teeny tiny town in Northern California to Savannah, Georgia. And we are like 21 days out from this move. So it's big. So we're in the middle of selling our house and doing all the purging that comes with that.
Mm.
And you can imagine with three small children, we've accumulated a ton of
I
stuff.
love a good purge.
So we've been doing some major purging.
Major purging.
And also, this has been a super reflective time
Yeah.
period
Yeah. Sure.
because we bought this house when our twins were like 3 months old.
Yes.
They were tiny. We were living in a one-room cabin and we had a very cute 2-year-old, a very active 2-year-old, and then the twins. And I just remember having we had car seats
Oh
and
my God.
bouncers stacked in the corner. And almost every day, Andre would come home. He was working at a school at that point. He'd come home and accidentally kick over
I'm
the
already
tower.
clumsy. So it's just like does that and then in the mornings, because you anything you did woke everyone up. So remember I would go into the bath to make coffee. I would wake up, get dressed, and I'd go into the bathroom, close the
I'm
door,
like,
and I had a little hand grind. I would put my clothes over it and grind the coffee and then wait and then grind a little bit more and then wait and then come out and make my coffee.
classic. So we were living in that situation. So I just remember Andre coming home, kicking over this tower of car seats and being like, we have to find a
It's like, I will
house.
live anywhere.
And we've been looking for a house for a while. And funny enough, the house next door to ours was for sale. So we went to look at that one, then we're like, how about that red
What's going
one?
on with that red house over there?
And I remember walking in, carrying both the twins. I used to have a wrap and I'd put them both in the wrap. So I had twins,
Two heads.
two
Yeah.
heads, so many babies. And walking in and just having this full body exhale
Mm.
and knowing this is the one, this is going to be our home. And though these past few weeks, being able to reflect on that feeling and when that feeling has showed up in our lives
Mm.
and kind of everything leading up to this move. So, for me, so much of knowing that things are the right decision has come from that full body exhale.
Mhm.
So I feel like the house was one of, and I don't get those often. I feel like I am often
Yeah.
have a pretty busy internal body,
Mm.
moving lots of thoughts. And when I get that full body exhale, it is so clear because it is so rare.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of the year leading up to our decision to move to Savannah, I was having a lot of that body anxiety. And I dubbed the term just an itchy sweater
Mm.
feeling, where it was like nothing in our lives was wrong. It was actually all really beautiful.
Yeah.
But in my body, I just felt like I was wearing an itchy sweater,
Mm.
on me. And I was like, there's something else. This isn't it. This isn't that comfortable exhale feeling.
Yeah.
And so, about a year before we decided to do the move, I had that feeling of ooh, something's not
Yeah.
quite
Something's
right.
not quite right
And
here.
we
Yeah.
talked last time about, or a few ago, about Miami and having this realization that, ooh, we might need more. And starting to have those inklings. And it was about that time that I started feeling that itchy sweater feeling.
Mm.
And booked a trip just to go back east to see back south, see Andre's mom in Atlanta. And at that point, we also booked a short getaway to go to Savannah,
Mm.
just the two of us for our anniversary. And I, from that point, was March and we were going in October. So it was 6 months away. And I just knew that I would have more clarity after we went to Atlanta, but it was a whole summer
Mm.
and time period of that itchy sweater feeling where it was like, this isn't quite right. And in my mind, I kept like pushing. So I was running a flower farm. So I was still doing all the events, doing bouquet subscriptions, growing all the flowers. And I kept trying to push the business forward like, oh, well, maybe it's we need to buy more property and we need to have our own piece of land. Maybe it's going in a different direction with the business and just kept like pushing forward. And I still had this like back of the mind knowing
Yeah.
that things would
But
change.
you didn't at that time, through all that, you didn't necessarily have the language to articulate the itchy sweater.
I remember I meet with a group of women monthly and just telling them like there's something coming and I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that only recently having that like itchy sweater language
Mhm.
of like it's bodily. It's like, oh, this isn't quite
Yeah.
comfortable. And I feel like it's only in my body that I can fully even talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So it
And
was like it was an embodied experience more than like this fully articulated, clear
yeah,
thought of, oh, I'm doing that because of this, and it will equal this. It was more
no,
like
there was not an equation.
yeah,
It was more of just
yeah,
like a mm,
yeah, yeah.
something is coming. I don't know what it is. This isn't it. I'm not comfortable.
Which makes it hard to express to other people. Like it makes it hard to communicate that to other people because you're like, I'm going through this thing, but I can't really tell you about the thing because I'm feeling it.
Yeah. I also
Yeah.
think there's like elements of confusion too with like perimenopause where you're like,
Mm,
I'm like uncomfortable in my body because there's hormonal
yeah.
changes. And so sometimes I was second guessing, like, is this just
Mm,
hormones? Like, what is this?
yeah.
There's probably some of that going on too, right?
Mm,
Um, but having this uncomfortable feeling and then um I just remember when we were in Savannah, I was standing on the beach looking out at the Atlantic, and I had that same feeling as when we first walked into our house,
mhm.
that like full body exhale. And for a moment, the sweater went away and
Yeah.
being like, oh, this is the next move. This is the next thing. And starting to move towards that, taking off that itchy sweater and moving towards that full body
Mm,
exhale. And I think one of the things I want to express too is that I still feel that itchy sweater often,
hmm.
right? And I have to go back to that moment of the beach
Yeah.
to like remember that full body exhale and say like hold on to that because my mind whips itself up and it comes up with lots of excuses.
I'm trying to remember. Did you cut your hair or get your hairstyle before we knew in center, or was it after?
It was right before we moved. We went to Georgia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's also they say that's one of the signs a change is coming, is when somebody does something to their hair. It could be cut it could be dye it, it could be they show up with a hairstyle that just on their own, they didn't ask anyone for permission to, they went and they did that. It's like, oh, change is coming. I mean, specifically for women, it's like if that shows up, something is about to shift. So I thought that was really interesting because when we were looking through the pictures, we
It's
were like,
true.
oh, that's when your hair was like this. And then it was like, oh, look at that. New hairstyle,
Yeah,
change is coming.
that tracks.
Yeah.
It also feels like it was interesting. I have an amazing hairstylist. I love her so much. That is one of the things that will be hard moving is finding someone new. But I feel like the cut she gave me, I was like, oh, that's it. That's me. That's like where I'm at in
Mm.
this moment. Like this is who I am. And she like found the thing
Yeah.
that was needing to come through in an expression of like hair. So it's funny you bring that up because I do feel like that was like the hairstyle that I was like, oh yeah, that feels good. That feels like where
Uh,
I'm at right now. Um,
so,
yeah.
so then, after you found that aha moment, which sometimes we do, and then you come back to the culture, do you feel like it was harder once you came back because it wasn't like we had the aha moment and then we were going? It was like, oh, now we have to make a decision of do we listen to it? And then once we listen to it, then you people ask you questions and you have to, there's and then there's going to be those that are like, hey, amazing. Then there's those that are sad or those that are going to tell you that's a terrible idea. Like, how do you think the second half of that, like, was it harder? Was it once you had the aha moment, was coming back and then go starting the process? How was
I
that?
I think for me, like once that itchy sweater feeling was gone, it's just felt so much
Uh,
better. Because I am someone who likes to be moving forward.
mm,
So it felt one of the most uncomfortable periods of my life was that those like
yeah.
6 months to a year of itchy sweater where I'm like, this isn't it.
Mm.
This isn't the thing. Like, I don't know what's next. But like waiting for the what's next, I'm not, waiting has not been a strong suit of mine. I really like to rush in and just, I like to move with a lot of action. And so,
What did the kids say at dinner last night that I thought was a mindset concept? I said,
oh,
if you're not sure, throw it out.
no,
Or
no, what was it? When in
when in
doubt,
doubt,
throw it
throw it out.
out.
And I was like, oh yeah, absolutely. This
Andres just
tracks.
used when in doubt, throw it out is a mindset concept. And I'm like, no, that applies to food. Like, if you think it's bad, throw it out so
And
don't
I
get
was like, oh,
sick.
if you're not sure, go for it. See what happens. Just put it out there. And they were like, actually, then after saying that to my kids, I was like, that's actually terrible advice. Don't forget everything your dad just said. In fact, if you're not sure if you say something, don't say that. So anyway, when in doubt,
Yeah,
we're gonna throw it out.
two very different
Yeah.
interpretations
Sometimes
of
you get it
that
right,
concept.
sometimes you get it really wrong.
Oh my gosh.
So when in doubt, you guys just throw it out there. Don't tell them
You
I told
can
you to do
you
that.
can take it whichever way you want. Either don't
No.
say it or
Yeah,
absolutely say it. You
needless
don't
to
know.
say, we're not like wait, two Aries, our ability to wait and sit and receive is work.
A lot of work.
A lot of
So
work.
I'm so proud of myself for like waiting and not trying to like push
Mhm.
something forward because that I've definitely pushed things forward in the past that, I don't like have regrets, but I think
We
about the
learn.
pushing. We sure
Yeah.
learn
Yeah, we
deep.
learn. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and it's also interesting going back to the last episode we did, we talked about like falling out of escrow. I feel like that was so the we kind of were very comfortable with because it was like this thing happened, it was gonna be fast. So then when it was like, oh, this is gonna be boom, boom, boom,
No resistance.
no resistance, and we just get to like, and then when things fell out of escrow, it was like the first time really that we had to kind of go, oh, you have to wait.
I
You
have to
have to
keep,
be active and receive at the same time.
yeah.
You can't just like keep make it happen. You can't do this part. This you got to do your part and then pull back.
I had to keep coming back to my like full body exhale moment and be like, no, this is the moment when I felt that thing, so I got to move towards it, even though there is resistance, because there's always resistance.
Mhm,
And it, again, going back to the past episode, it doesn't mean that resistance is bad.
mhm, mhm.
That is like part of the journey. Um, yeah.
And then so with a multicultural mindset, you know, we are wearing the itchy sweater, but we're the only ones that really know that embodied feeling. And then so on the outside, folks could be telling you, hey, that's a beautiful sweater. I really like it. Oh, it matches you perfectly. Or so maybe say, oh, you don't like that sweater, but you should be grateful for that sweater. There's a lot of people that don't even have sweaters. And so, where do you think, with a multicultural mindset, how do we use that once we
Mm.
have that itchy sweater feeling to kind of then go through the process of, okay, now what do I want to do?
I think so many times if you keep the itchy sweater on, it's because of like an over culture. It's
Mm,
because of the
mm,
culture, like you said, telling you that like, no, that's the perfect sweater for you.
mm,
And that sweater looks so good. It's so beautiful. Look at what you've created. You made that sweater from scratch. Why would you want to get rid of it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I feel like there is just like recognizing that story and also recognizing the deeper truth of like, but this sweater it doesn't fit me anymore.
Doesn't fit me anymore. So yeah, it
Yeah,
doesn't mean it's good or bad. It might have been great at a certain
no,
time, but now I've changed, internally, externally, and this sweater no longer is comfortable.
yeah.
Yeah.
So to get to like pass that sweater on to get rid of it, like I am so excited in this moment because I think about our home as like part of that sweater analogy is that like in that moment when I walked in with these two babies and felt that like full body exhale, this beautiful home is exactly what we needed. And the sweater of the home that I'm wearing, right? I can't wait to pass it off to someone else who needs it exactly in that
Hmm.
moment. But right now, it's like not that full body exhale for me. It's like time to do
Hmm.
something else. And I still love this home so deeply. I have so much gratitude for it raising our babies, to have had this palette for creativity. I'm excited to do it
Hmm.
again. It's been so fun to have an old home that needs lots of love and be able to put that out there and
Hmm.
create something really beautiful. I know there's like a lot of narratives about old houses and things breaking, but I never felt like that with this. It was
Hmm.
like this really cool way to express ourselves and gain skills. And now it's time to like pass it on to someone
Yeah.
else. But on the multicultural mindset level, I think just being able to recognize it and say, um, oh wow, that is someone else's story. And also that might have been mine, but now we're in a different
Hmm.
spot and not needing for it to be one certain way. Again, for it to be this or that, but to say, oh, this home, this place, this space is perfect for another family exactly where they're at. And it was great where we were. But if in this moment I don't listen to that full body exhale and I don't take off the itchy sweater,
Hmm.
I'm going to continue to have that feeling and just be listening to it.
Yeah. And I think, the overculture will say if you determine that something is no longer for you, then you have to label it as good or bad. Whereas with the multicultural mindset, our philosophy is that it's really saying if this thing is no longer for me, if this thing is now uncomfortable, it doesn't mean that it's not good, beautiful, and amazing for someone else. And so by me letting go of it or by me taking it off and putting it out there in the world and making it available, then it's probably going to be it could be the thing that saves someone's life. Or it could be someone's refuge or someone's haven or the thing that someone has been seeking. And so it gets you out of once again that binary of this decision is good or it's bad or it's saying no, it's just recognizing that where I'm at in this time period, this is no longer for me. And now by taking this off, it makes it available for someone else. And then I get to go out and decide, do I even want a sweater? Maybe I'm tired of being cold. Maybe I'm sweaterless for a while, or maybe I'm gonna go, put together something that is for me at this time period of my life. And so I
Mm.
think it takes us out of that. It allows us to get from underneath that culture that's always trying to say like this, that, good, bad, right, wrong.
I think
Um,
it also, for me, it keeps me from being like, I don't really like this word, but it feels like self-righteous in a
mm,
way that like, well, what I'm doing is better.
mm,
No, what I'm doing is what I need to do for me and
yeah.
my family.
Mm.
And it's going to be better for my family, but nobody else needs to do that.
Yes, and that's why I love having a multicultural mindset because it's not a roadmap. Like, please don't do what I do, do what we do. But it's saying it's offering us the ability to tap into questions that allow us to figure out what is it that we individually or as a partnership or as parents or as a family, what is it that is comfortable for us? And what is it that the sweaters we need to put on and what are the ones that we do need to take off because it's time? And so I like that.
Yeah.
There isn't that this is good, this bad. The way I do it's right, and the way someone else does it is quote unquote wrong. It's I don't know. That's a question for us,
Your
for your
family.
family, and that's a question for us as individuals to ask and do that work.
I
But yeah.
think about Andre's right. You don't necessarily do what we're doing, but do you have an itchy sweater in your life? Are you feeling that? Is it your job that you're like, gosh, this feels too tight? This feels itchy. Is it the physical place you're in?
Mhm.
Is it a relationship? Is it one of those
Mhm.
things that you're like, ooh, this is uncomfortable? And you might not have that full body exhale yet, but just to start asking those
Yeah.
questions like, what might make this less itchy? Like,
Mhm.
where might I find that full body exhale? And when you find it, to have the courage to take the sweater off and make the change
Mhm.
that you need to change. Make the change that you need to change. That's all right.
I think it's be the change or something like that
I
you want
don't,
to see in the world.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
but have the courage to make the
Yeah.
change.
And speaking of courage, I do think that once again, when we get those feelings, or when we get that, that download of like, okay, it's time, I do think that is where tapping into a community or tapping into support, whether it be one person or someone else, to kind of keep your spirits high. Because oftentimes, for most of us, unless it's a situation of obviously violence or health or danger inherent, like sometimes that's just a hard, you've got to pivot immediately. But for most of these things, they're gonna probably take place over a gradual period of time that's going to feel like a long time, like 6 months to a year. When you're in it, feels like a long time. But in order to stay active in that process, I feel like it's very beneficial to be able to have a community of people who either have gone through it or are currently going through it, because then you
Mm,
don't feel crazy. Because sometimes the physical community that surrounds you, or maybe even your family, maybe they haven't gone through that, or it's been such a long time that they're not really able to kind of give like to kind of keep that energy level going of like you could do this, or I see what you're doing, like great job. And so I think being able to tap into a community like Multicultural Family Hub, where you're gonna be a part of a community where people that do take off sweaters and put new ones on, whether it's physical moves, whether it's careers, whether it's where your kids go to school or don't go to school, all of these things, so that you realize it kind of recalibrates it so that you know that this is not crazy. This is life.
yeah.
The transitions are coming, whether you want to acknowledge them or not. Things are always in transitions in cycles. If you're a parent, you know this baby, 2 year old, toddler, little
Keeps
kids,
changing.
teenagers. Now they're like, even if you want to deny it, it's there. So how do we change with it? And how do we make sure that we're stepping into each of those transitions with the sweater that's appropriate? I always say it's like imagine walking around in a winter coat in summer in Georgia. You can tell yourself that you're comfortable and you can tell yourself this is a nice looking coat, but you're going to feel terrible. And you're also eventually going to put out an energy of, I am so uncomfortable, I can't take this anymore.
Mm.
So, but you don't have to do that. Even if the culture says, yeah, wear it, don't take it off, keep it. You don't, you have a choice, but it does take, I think it's easier to do it with some support.
I completely agree because it is easy to forget. For me, it's easy to forget that feeling
Mhm.
and just to for yeah, for you to be take the breath.
Mm.
And I need a lot of those
And
breaths.
even kind of sometimes I think we can all benefit from guidance of the smaller steps of the process, like instead of because our mind, I think, automatically goes to the big thing.
Yeah.
Okay, then what do we do? But there's like, well, what are the small, one of the things, from a coaching model is like, what are the 1% actions you may take or the 1% decision. So these aren't massive overnight transition, but it's like, okay, I'm going to stop doing that and I'm going to start doing that. And these are kind of low risk things, or
What might that
what,
be? What might those 1% actions be like in the framework of our move? What have been some of those 1% actions that because we're 21 days out that we've taken to like get us to, about to cruise, or the 1% actions we still need to take.
I think the 1% actions, I think for our example, it was okay, well, even before, like, what is it if we decide to move and we decide to sell our home? Let's call a realtor
Yeah.
and say, hey, as people that have never sold a home, what's the first step? What's the one thing that we should do or shouldn't do? And that first step may be so simple. It may be something of them saying, well, let me come visit and do a walkthrough with you. That's a very low risk thing. Then they come to a walkthrough and that person says, here's what I would do, here's what I wouldn't do. And then maybe there's and you know what I mean? So none of that is, and you might decide after that, okay, well, we're not going to do anything. But that is a very low cost, and it's a 1% action of I'm going to call a realtor and have them come check out our place. That's not like a massive commitment. You're not
Yeah.
so those are examples, but that little 1%, if you take that little 1% call, and then let's say the realtor says, okay, I don't know, I would do a deep clean. And I wouldn't repaint your house. Like, if you add that on that 1% call and you add it on with the action, and then you add on another action, and then you keep adding those 1% things on, and then you're slowly, what looks like a small shift becomes a massive shift. That talk about like moving a plane, the nose of a plane. Well, 1% doesn't seem like a lot, but if you do that incrementally, well, that plane's no longer landing in Atlanta, it's now in New York at these 1% shifts. So I think that is also a great having support in that, because those 1% shifts sometimes don't feel like I'm doing enough. But then having people say like, okay, well, remember when you did that? And then you called the realtor, and then they came out, and then you did that, and then you did that. And then you start to go, oh my goodness, I'm like 75% of the way there with all these 1% shifts. But I haven't blown myself out, and I haven't put myself in a situation where I'm burnt out and stressed and I'm not going to make it across
And
to the
your
change.
Andre is excellent at 1%
Ah,
shifts.
yeah, I'm a 1%.
I am 300% all the time. So I'm like, okay, so I call the realtor. She tells me to do a deep clean. I'm finishing all that today,
Right now.
right now,
And then we're going to make
in
some
this.
lunch. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm only going to do one of those things today. And then
So one of the tools that's helped me is actually journaling after you've been making those little movements, because it does feel at this point I feel like there's still a lot of things that have to happen, because there are. But I've just journaled recently all the steps that we've already taken. And for me, it really helps be like, okay, cool. This is like where we're at in the process. Look at how much has come before. I can trust that like we'll continue to get everything that comes after to line up as well. But I am so thankful for you in this moment as my community to remind me of the things that we've already done, and my own work, reminding myself in as we like move forward with the transition and knowing the things that we're supposed to. Ooh, what you got there?
So it's going to be backwards, but my stroke of insight, this is by Joe Bolte Taylor. She was a brain scientist who had a stroke. She has a famous TED Talk, beautiful book. This is kind of she goes through what happened pre her stroke, what happened during the stroke, and then talks about what happened to her after the stroke. But it's a great book. I really recommend it. I'm loving it. And there's lots more to come from it. But in this book, one of the things she highlights is post-stroke, when she was having to relearn what we would consider like very like basic things. I mean, she talked about, uh, obviously lifting her foot to take a step, or just some very, very, very micro movements. How she had a team around her that understood that they had to take what seemed like a simple step and they broke it down to its like small components. And so some of the things that we think are so, small moves, putting toothpaste on a toothbrush, when you break that task down to its smallest components, you realize like that little task is comprised of hundreds of things. And so when you finally do that little 1% thing, it is, I think you're important to write it down or have people that are going to remind you because there's something in our brain that wants to minimize it. But
Mm.
because of the condition her mind was at after the stroke, she was able to feel in her body how big that one little thing was. Whereas
That
we
is
would be
so,
like, oh, it's just putting toothpaste on toothpaste. She was like, no, that took so when my body understood all the steps and I understood all the energy it took. So I was able
mm,
to go, that was huge. And then that was huge. But I think with our minds and with our culture, the culture says, oh, the little stone, that's just a part
more.
of the process. Versus,
Yeah.
no, that is a part of the process, but each one of those 1% is a win. No matter how quote unquote small you think it is, because, for example, calling the realtor, there's a lot of stuff one has to get over to pick up a phone, look up a number. Maybe you know the realtor, maybe you don't. Maybe you've never called a realtor for you feel embarrassed. Maybe you feel like I need to do more research. All of these things that could prevent you from doing that little call. And then the steps to then do the call. And then there's a lot of wins in there. And so I think having journal or having people that have a multicultural mindset that are going to say, hey, I know I feel like you're not recognizing this. So here, let me reflect back to you what you've done.
Yeah.
And then you'll go, okay, I have done, I can keep doing this. So I'm learning a lot from, once again, My Stroke of Insight, Joe Bolte Taylor. Check it out. It's a beautiful read. And it's actually helped me a lot in this process because even though the book is about her experience with stroke, it is about transition and it is about finding peace within the uncomfortableness of the weight and transition of trying to master things. So
Would
yeah.
you say there's like, does my sweater analogy apply here? Like, does it apply in that, like, finding peace while you're wearing the uncomfortable sweater? Or do you
Yeah,
think that's
yeah.
like a different?
No, it does because a big part of, her journey was she had to recognize, I don't want to go into too details, I don't want to quote it, but one of the things that happened, with the stroke is she she was able to really, really feel the physiological impact that things had on her body,
Mm,
whether it be light, fluorescent light coming through, whether it be being in a noisy, loud place. And one of the things she talked about is like, when she was in the hospital, when there were different medical staff that would come to her, she's like, sometimes the energy of one person literally gave her energy.
mm,
And the next shift, another person would come into the same task, but they were exhausted or they were tired, they were rushing, or they were just hard on the touch, and it drained her. So she was able to go, oh, instead of having a sweater on and not recognizing this is uncomfortable, she realized all the things that lit her up physically or all the things that really drained her body. So I think the sweater analogy does apply because you have that on, you can ignore it, or you could go, you know what?
I feel it.
I feel it.
Mm,
I feel it. And I might not know why, and I might not be able to articulate why, but I can trust that that thing I'm feeling, there's something to that. And now 1% step. Maybe that 1% is I'm just gonna ask a question. What's going on? How have I changed? And just kind of keep walking it down the line. She talks about her journey to recovery was 8 years. And so think about the 1% steps one takes for 8 year um, essentially brain recovery and physical recovery and the spiritual recovery of that being 39 years old and having your life change in a moment. And so needless to say, I think the sweater analogy is really appropriate. And I think it's also important for us to recognize, especially as a multicultural family, like you're going to have another sweater at some point. And I think we'd like to think, okay, I got my uncomfortable sweater. I got over it. Now we're good. Well, at least in our relationship, that sweater comes about every 7 to 10 years. And so
yeah.
I already know. I'm like, okay, we're gonna be on the other side of this, and then we're gonna be in living life, and then about 7 to 10 years, it's gonna get itchy again. But
Or it could be
or
before.
we could be before. But just having this, I think the more times you do it, the more you have the skill of not ignoring it.
Mm,
Because the culture is going to give you every reason to keep that sweater on.
mm.
That's granddaddy's sweater. That's grandma's sweater.
Yeah.
I know it's itchy, but
Just keep it on.
keep it on. And maybe, you got to go, well, who am I?
In relationship to what you were saying, every 7 to 10 years, I think the piece of advice that we were in premarital counseling with this really rad woman. And
Yeah.
one of the things that she said that both of us come back to all the time is it never
Yeah,
stops.
I remember the day she told us that. She was like, this is the one truth I will give you.
It never
It
stops.
never stops.
Yeah, so the
Um,
sweaters never stop coming and like the challenges never stop coming and it's like all
the
in
transitions,
yeah, the
they
transitions never
never
stop
stop coming.
coming and in terms of like resisting that, but just that truth that like no, this is life.
Yeah.
And if you resist that, it is more painful.
Yeah.
It causes more suffering versus like, hey, this is it. So we wear the sweater, we figure it out, we take it off or we don't. And then it just keeps going. And so being ready for it to never stop coming and I think just letting it come.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
And so
excited.
where are we at right now? Where are we at with our move? What's the update? I know people want to
So
know.
we, like I said, we're moving in about 21 days. We have a really cool rental in Savannah. I'm very excited about that. We haven't rented in a while, so I'll just like cross my fingers that our kids don't break anything.
No, we're great. We're great. Don't occasionally, we're incredible renters.
No, we are great renters, but we
Listen,
also have like real active kids.
yeah.
Um, so we're doing that. Yeah, it's coming. We did another big sale, so our house is pretty empty, which has been kind of hilarious.
It's weird to hear your kids go like, "Oh, this is a nice house," or say like, "This feels like an Airbnb."
Right? So it's been funny too, just like we have very limited furniture. So there's like five people just on top of each other on a love
On
seat.
this tiny little couch, or like watching a movie the other day. We're like, "Just get off my head!" I just walked away. I was like, I'm not watching this. This is not worth it." Yeah.
Yeah, so we are just in like definitely in a beautiful limbo, but it does feel good to like get rid of all the things. We had like the most epic yard sale.
Mm-hmm.
Our community every year puts on this.
Valley-wide yard sale.
Yeah, so I think there was probably like it was like
Yeah.
25 or 30 people participating
Yeah.
in it.
And they hand
And
out maps of
right,
like where you can go and
yeah, the night before, I want to say there was people there from 2 hours away that were like pre-gaming.
you're like, "Ooh, what you
And
got?"
it was supposed to start at 9. We had people at our house at 7:30, and we probably had over 100 people come.
Awesome.
It was super fun. It was bananas,
Yeah.
but it was a really cool event
Yeah.
and
That was fun.
also a way just to like see a lot of people.
Yeah.
It got to
And look
sell a
how
lot
they
of
give a lot of
perennial,
stuff away
yeah, give a
too.
lot of stuff
It's
away,
really
sell
cool.
some perennial plants. So it was like part of
And
like,
we had to say, you got to say goodbye to a lot of people too.
yeah,
Yeah, that which is really beautiful,
yeah.
That was awesome.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we're
So
just kind of in the wrappy uppy phase.
mhm.
And also, I should say wrappy uppy phase here, but also like launching for our
Yes.
Multicultural Family Hub community, which you will love. And if you have loved this podcast so far, please share it with someone that you feel like could benefit
Mhm.
from our community or even just our podcast, because we share lots of little nuggets here. And I think that stories are so powerful, and we love to share ours because I think it gives other people permission to create their own.
Mhm.
So please share this with a friend. And we're opening up Multicultural Family Hub, the online portion of our community, in June
Sign up for the
after we get
newsletter.
to Savannah. And yeah,
No.
here we go. So keep an eye out, share it, tell us what you think, if anything resonated.
Yeah.
Do you have a itchy sweater right now?
Are you wearing one right now?
Yeah.
This is not an itchy sweater. This is a very soft sweater.
You will notice that because he wears it every single time. It's kind of uniform.
Yeah, what do you say? I don't think about it. Yeah, lastly, next week, our next podcast, we're gonna give you another update. So we're gonna keep this kind of our moving series. And so until we get to Savannah, we'll let you guys follow the journey. Maybe we'll do like a live one as we're dragging kids to the airport.
I don't know if you want to see that.
It's
3 kids and a wiener dog. It's going to be a good time.
to the Atlanta airport. Oh, you probably will. Someone will video it.
Gosh.
It'll be on YouTube. Don't worry. It's us. Oh, they look at it. They can't get through. They can't get on the escalator. Look at them falling.
Oh, last time we were in the Atlanta airport,
Oh my.
what the train was broken, so we had to like just do a ton of walking with all these little beings. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And our kids have grown up super rural, so like
Slow walkers, folks.
not just slow walkers, but like escalators and rotating
They're
doors are like way
watching
out of their
everything.
comfort zone. And there was probably a line of like 50 people behind us because we were all being rerouted. So I had to like give the twins like a gentle shove into the revolving door.
Oh
I mean,
man,
it was a lot.
it was epic. Because I can't like it's amazing we made it there alive, but not
Yeah,
getting stampeded.
seriously.
Thanks, Atlanta. Thanks for being gentle. If you see us, we're working on it.
Continue.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get up to speed eventually.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
See you next time, huh?
Yeah, we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Dee dee.